Hi, good morning guys, glad you could join me. Well, I thought today something nice and simple, and that's just making one of these, a Swedish Fire Torch. So once you've selected your size of wood, now that depends on what you want to use it for. You know, I've seen some absolutely massive Swedish fire torches, but you know, this kind of size here, around about 5 inches, you know, is suitable for most things. And again, you know, you could actually come right down to a real small size if you just wanted to make a little quick stove, just to boil water or perhaps just cook a little bit of food with. So the first thing we're going to do is just split this log into 4. What I'll do is I'll just bring the camera down and just show you just what I'm going to do. Now, just one word to note is when you do actually split the logs down, just try and split them evenly so that you know, the size of sections are pretty much equal, and that way then, you know, it may stop it from burning uneven. You know, not unless that's the fact that that's what you want. You know, sometimes that if you did want it uneven, you know, then you could actually have a bit more heat coming out to one side, perhaps if you're going to use it for warmth as well as cooking. The wood itself, you know, isn't perfectly round, and I've noticed here it must have got damp at some point, so, you know, as we split it, we'll see actually, you know, how it pans out and how it works for us. So just putting the axe in and just using the batten here, I'm just going to strike down, like I say, you know, if we're splitting it in half, and then we can split them down into quarters. Now, if this wood is quite wet inside, we could actually do is split it down into more sections, probably 5 or 6, something like that, and that's going to help it then just burn a little bit evenly. But, you know, this as it is at the moment is quite dry, so, you know, I'm pretty certain that just 4 sections will be enough. So this stage here now, what I've done, I've actually just used the batten and just split it down into quarters. I just did that off camera, just save a little bit of time. And then what you want to try and do is just keep all the sections in the correct order. Now if you wanted to, you could actually just mark them with a little bit of piece of charcoal or something like that. Because the next thing what I'm going to do is just start to carve out just down the inside here, which is going to form just a little bit of an air hole or a little bit of a chimney for us. And that way then it just helps the log just to burn just a little bit more efficiently. So when it comes just to removing this little bit of timber now, just so we can form this chimney, this part of the log here is the top section. So when it's formed, like I say, this will be sitting on top. So we're just going to put this down, so this is facing the top of the anvil here. And then we're just going to cut down right about 2/3 of the way down. And that way then, once the sections have been put back together, it does form a little chimney or a little air hole for us, which is just going to help it to draft. And these chippings that we're cutting off, I'm just going to save, and then we can use them as the fire, which we're going to put on top of the log, just to get the fire started just in the first place. And all I've done there now, I've just put that log back together, and as you can see, there, we've just got a gap now just at the centre there, which is going to draw that air up. So what I'm going to do now is actually just get a little bit of wire, and we're just going to wrap some wire just around the base of this, just to help keep everything together for us. All this is just a piece of garden wire. Now I usually carry a piece of wire with me. It comes in handy for various things, obviously like for what we're doing at the moment, but in the past I've actually used it to repair zippers, and also if you wanted to make things like straws or, you know, things for blowing embers into fires, you know, perhaps a little piece of wire just being carried, you know, which you could heat up, just to help burn through the centre of pithy material, you know, comes handy for that kind of thing. You know, so what it takes here, this piece around about 18 inches, takes up no room and takes up any weight in your pack. So what I've also done here, just a little loop at the end, and then we're just going to wrap it round, feed the loop just through there, and just having it just a few inches just from the bottom, and just try and pull it as tight as possible, just moving it into place where you want it, and that should be sufficient there just to help to hold it and just stop it from falling apart as it's burning. Just tying this up quickly just at the back here, so it's got to be nothing fancy. You know, and if you hadn't brought wire, you know, for a certain time period, you know, until it burnt down quite deep, you know, I suppose you could use something like bank line, or, you know, a little piece of paracord or something just right around the bottom here, you know, but certainly wire, you know, is the way to go. So that's the log now secure. All we've got to do now is just get a few twigs, and what we're going to do is just put some twigs down just to help to open up these gaps again, just allowing just a little bit of airflow just to come through. But also if you place your twigs, you know, around about 4 or 5 inches down, That's then going to stop any of the coals from actually falling too far into the log and actually starting the fire from burning too deep down. You know, what we want is the fire to start up here, and then as the coals naturally drop down, that this log will then burn through the centre and start working its way all the way through. So that's the log with the little twigs in, and like I say, what it's done there, this has just opened up the gaps for us a little bit, just to have a little bit of airflow through. And again, you know, these twigs here are just going to stop them coals from dropping too far down into the log itself. I want to get that fire just created just near the top here, and then this nice dry pine will start to burn quite quickly, you know, once things have started to warm up inside. Now, you know, these kind of stoves, absolutely brilliant for cooking on, very, very efficient, but also if you wanted to use them for warmth, you know, it's something going to help with that as well. So all we've got to do now is just make a little fire on top, and then what will happen is that the coals will start slowly dropping through, and then after 5 or 10 minutes that this wood on the inside will start to ignite. Before I put the little fire just on the top, these chippings which I mentioned just at the beginning, I'm just going to drop down just inside, just to give it just a little helping hand just to burn. And if you wanted to, you know, if you've got little bits of fat wood, you can also just have to put those in the cuts here. And also again, you know, if you're in a deciduous woodland, something like birch bark would be another good option just to stuff inside and just help get this fire lit. So the Swedish Torch has been burning for around about an hour now, and you know, there's still plenty of wood left on it. Now the advantage of them is if the wind's blowing from a certain direction and burning a part of this torch down a little bit quicker, you know, once you've got that wire around it which is holding it all together, there's nothing actually stopping you from being able to turn it, you know, and face that portion into the wind and allow it just to burn just a little bit more evenly. Or even so, you know, you can actually pick the whole thing up and you could actually move it off and take it to a new position. Again, you know, if it starts to rain or that kind of thing and you just want to move it closer to cover. So just checking the watch here, and this Swedish Fire Torch has been running for around about an hour and 3/4, something like that, and you know, the amount of timber that's left on it, I've probably got about another hour left. So, you know, for a piece that was around about 12 inches long by around about 5 inches wide, very efficient. You know, it's a safe way of having a fire, you know, if you're where I am at the moment, like in a pine forest, certainly in the summertime, if you're cautious about having an open fire, that these kind of things are quite safe. For cooking, for warmth, you know, getting quite a bit of heat off it. And again, you know, if it's been raining or perhaps it's been snowing, you know, it's going to be a lot easier just to chop a quick log out, split it down, the way it's actually is to find a lot of dry firewood or start splitting a lot of wood down just to make an open fire. You know, it's obviously just showing here it is a lot more efficient than an open fire, and it's certainly got that water boiling, you know, just in a couple of minutes. So, you know, if you haven't actually made one of these Swedish fire stoves, very, very simple, and again, you know, it's certainly worth knowing how to make them. So like always guys, I just seem to say thanks a lot for you stopping by and watching the video. Until next time, you take care, I'll see you again.